Temple is an insane damage dealer and buffer warframe. The warframe gives a maximum 750% heat damage boost to all weapons. This is also applicable to your allies within affinity range, and this buff from Ripper's Wail when it hits heat-based weapons like the Kuva Ogress. It also makes meta weapons such as the Incarnatorid Insane, and even your on-call crew holding a Kuva Czar will deal millions of damage when they receive the buff. The best part is, it also works on your companion weapons, and we will discuss this further later as it's a part of the best damage-dealing setup for Temple. For now, I want to share how I mod Lizzie to get the best damage output on this exalted flamethrower guitar. Now, this exalted weapon has a good innate heat damage, and the best part about it is that it has infinite ammunition. You can just hold the shoot button to infinitely shoot the flamethrower and melt enemies with the heat damage. For some, they usually mod it with other elemental mods, but before doing so, I would like you to try adding lots of fire rate mods in Lizzie. When your exalted guitar is active, you can actually shoot fire and a specific elemental at the same time. If you hold the sight button, you'll be prompted on the elemental menu of the guitar. Lizzie can shoot corrosive, magnetic, viral, or cold that doesn't combine with the normal heat damage of the exalted guitar. You can shoot your flamethrower and inflict an elemental and its status effect at the same time, and you have the option to not mod for dual status chance in your build. Instead of status chance mods, I prefer fire rate because the damage over time of heat becomes insane. Remember that you have infinite ammo. The exalted guitar has good status chance that you can stack heat status effect to targets fast. In fact, adding arcane acceleration in one of your warframe slots will make it better, but always remember that there are other options. For example, the new arcane hotshot seems like it was made for Temple because it allows you to get the max stack fast when you are inflicting heat status with your exalted guitar. This arcane works like Cascadia Flare, by the way, and you will lose all the buff if the duration expires. Also, the critical chance buff seems to be additive to mods such as Point Strike, Primed Pistol Gambit, and True Steel. Right now, I only have a max 100% critical chance bonus with this arcane, but it will be super busted when I got it max. Red Crit Lizzie will be a DPS machine once I maxed out this arcane, but for now, I can still do red crit damage with my exalted thanks to the overdrive skill that grants critical chance boost. So, this is my final build for my Temple right now, but there's always room for improvement. I did go with max power strength because it gives more damage multiplier to my exalted solo, and as well as critical chance boost to overdrive. Power strength doesn't give extra heat damage bonus to Ripper's Wail, but it does allow you to stack faster with the help of the backbeat bonus also. Now, this backbeat timing feature is the meter you see in your center screen. When you timed casting your abilities, you will get a backbeat bonus for each ability. Your pyrotechnic will ignite more and gain increased duration and damage of Ripper's Wail when it deals damage. Your overdrive will gain double critical chance buff, and as well as improve the heat damage buff stack of Ripper's Wail. Finally, your exalted solo will not consume energy once you perfectly timed your backbeat. Now, your exalted doesn't really consume your warframe energy. Instead, it will consume the energy you build up in your backbeat meter. The normal flamethrower shots of Lizzie will drain your backbeat meter fast, and it doesn't take advantage of the perfect backbeat feature. You don't consume the backbeat meter energy when using elemental damage and perfectly timing it. Getting back to my warframe build, the damage of Lizzie will be better if I had Precision Intensify in the setup. However, you can equip the mod when Umbral Intensify is in your mod setup. The reason why I choose these Umbral mods over Precision Intensify is because I want to get more critical chance bonus from Overdrive. If I have maxed Arcane Hotshot, plus Red Tau Forged Archon Shard to boost the power strength of this build, then I will remove these Umbral mods, then replace it with Precision Intensify and the Archon Vitality, which doubles the heat status effect, making Heat Inherit more busted with Temple. Okay, I have explained the basics of my Temple build. Now let's proceed to the fun part, and that is how to make Temple broken with the Heat Inherit trick in this game. If you know Heat Inherit already, then please proceed to the Heat Inherit trick for Temple and skip this part. If you're new to the game and don't know what is Heat Inherit, then please watch it so you'll have the basic knowledge and can improvise the Heat Inherit build I will show later. So basically, Heat Inherit in Warframe is a mechanic that allows the heat status effect, proc, to retain the damage scaling from the original source when refreshed by another heat proc. Normally, when an enemy suffers from a heat proc, they take damage over time based on the weapon's modded heat damage. However, if a new heat proc is applied before the previous one expires, instead of simply resetting the duration and recalculating the damage from the new hit, the game keeps the highest recorded heat dot value and extends the duration. This means if an initial high damage heat proc is applied, future heat procs from weaker sources won't override the damage, preserving the stronger dot effect. To take advantage of Heat Inherit, players typically start by applying an extremely powerful heat proc from a high damage source, such as a heavy attack from a melee weapon or a sniper shot with high base damage and heat mods. Once the strong heat proc is established, continuous applications of heat from rapid-fire weapons, status-inflicting abilities, or companions will keep refreshing the duration while maintaining the high .T value. This technique is particularly useful against heavily armored enemies, as heat procs strip armor over time, making it a potent tool for dealing sustained damage in long fights. This mechanic is especially beneficial when using weapons or Warframe abilities that can frequently apply heat procs, but may not have high individual damage. For instance, weapons with high status chance but low base damage, like beam weapons or certain secondary weapons, can continuously refresh a powerful heat proc applied by a stronger weapon. Since heat dot ignores enemy armor after the initial hit, Heat Inherit allows players to effectively melt high-level enemies without worrying about diminishing returns from armor scaling. Mastering Heat Inherit can significantly boost damage output, making it a crucial technique for endgame content such as Steel Path missions and boss fights. For Temple, you can use a secondary weapon like the Epitaph modded with primed heated charge, a faction mod, and other damage-boosting mods to inflict the first instance of heat. Then, you can use Temple's exalted guitar to increase the heat damage tick on the enemy. Now, some will say that it's not because of the Heat Inherit mechanic, but because of the high stack of heat that makes the damage tick grow stronger. Well, that's not true, as I tested it a couple of times, and the damage of the exalted guitar with high stack doesn't scale as good as with the Heat Inherit mechanic. Basically, the exalted guitar will inherit the heat procs of the initial heat from Epitaph, increasing the damage per tick, and this is why you'll be seeing more heat damage over time compared to just using your guitar. The only problem with this synergy is that it's annoying sometimes to pull out your secondary or melee to apply the first heat instance, then use your exalted guitar to stack up the heat damage. It's applicable against demolist units or in boss fights, but in other missions, such as survival or any generic missions that requires killing enemies at the fastest time possible, then switching gears would not be optimal. However, don't worry, as Heat Inherit also works with your Sentinel weapon, and for this synergy, we will be using the Verglass Sentinel modded with lots of heat to apply the first instant of heat proc. Then, you can just murder them with your exalted guitar that will ramp up the heat damage of the first instance. Honestly, with the Verglass and your exalted guitar, nothing can survive. And most of the time, enemies will get burned by your DPS, and you won't see how high the damage of Heat Inherit is. But in most cases, it will hit up to 400k heat tick, or even better, depending if the enemy can survive all those heat status stack. Although secondary weapons have an advantage because of the primed heated charge mod, the Verglass and Temple combo is efficient enough to disregard any loss in DPS. In fact, it's better to use in real missions. Now, the last part of this video are tips on playing Temple. And the first one is that subsume abilities also increases your backbeat meter. In terms of subsume abilities, it's better if you use Roar to increase your DPS, but the game doesn't allow you to do that, sadly, as the Helminth system only allows one damage buff in a Warframe. There's also the option to use survivability, like the Omamori skill. If you are going for a Helminth setup, then I recommend replacing Temple's first ability, but there's also the option to replace your exalted guitar. Remember that Temple can boost all weapon damage, including those meta ones like Incarnon Torrid. You can play as a damage booster using your normal weapons to kill enemies. In this way, you don't need to worry about the backbeat meter, and just focus on keeping the 750% heat damage buff. Also, the Ripper's Wail is a great safety net, and adaptation does work well with this. You can build up the stack of adaptation while this skill is active, and it's really good for survivability. Overall, I can say that Temple is really a fun Warframe to play with, and I hope this video provides all the information you need to have fun with the new Warframe. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next video.